The story of the Humboldt Five's mysterious vanishing is like the eerie whisper of a whirlwind, haunting all that hear it with fear and intrigue. Within what seems like an otherwise peaceful town, 5 individuals just vanished one day without any explanation and ended in bones and skulls. This sparked a feeling that lies over the whole semi-sprawling wilderness and the disturbing strangeness that lurks in the Humboldt forest's haunting embrace. This chilling story begins in 1993 in the chapter of 21-year-old Jennifer Wilmer, a young woman who disappeared without leaving any trace. Having moved from her Long Island home, Jennifer went to Arcata in California with plans of studying at the College of the Redwoods. She then started working as a waitress and moved in with her boyfriend and 3 others in Hawkins Bar, an unincorporated Trinity County, California community. Shortly after relocating, Jennifer talked to a friend about her intent on getting employment at the nearby farm she used to work at. At her friend's suggestion, she went on Monday. At 7:30 a.m. on Monday, September 13th, Jennifer left hitchhiking to the farm, before which she wrote a good-sounding handwritten message to her roommates, signed under her nickname, that said, "Bye everybody, went to my first day at the farm. Wish me luck. Good luck to you, Mingo, and see you in a few months. If someone could give food to the kitten as needed, I'd appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll see you folks later. Love, Jade," and abandoned all her stuff, suggesting she was coming back. 2 days after her departure, her friends visit the farm, and they find out that she never arrived. The police in the locality were notified, and Jennifer's parents were contacted. The investigators, however, did not dig deep into the case, as no signs of foul play were found, and thus ruled her out as a runaway. But things did not end there. The headlines in 1998 regarding this case belonged to Wayne Adam Ford, a truck driver with a dark past, walking into a police station in Eureka, Humboldt County, California, with the severed breast of one woman in his pocket. Surprisingly, he admitted to killing 4 women and described in detail what happened. Although the disappearances were not directly connected to the Humboldt Five, Ford's evocative confessions caused doubts and led investigators to investigate his possible involvement in the disappearance. Later on, his victims were identified as a few other women who went missing previously, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment, completely cutting him off from the Humboldt Five case. In the year 1997, 4 years after the missing of Jennifer, a shadow of uncertainty was cast again, as Karen Mitchell never reached her destination. No one had seen the 16-year-old girl since she was seen getting into a blue sedan. When she vanished, her application to diverse colleges was still underway. Over the Thanksgiving weekend, Karen was working at her aunt's shoe store, Annie's Shoes in Bayshore Mall. In the afternoon, Karen's aunt offered her a ride to a daycare center where Karen worked, but she declined the ride because the daycare center was within walking distance. However, that same night her aunt went to pick up Karen, but when she reached there, the people of the place told her that Karen had not shown up. A former police officer told investigators he had to quickly step on the brakes to avoid hitting a car, into which a girl who looked similar to Karen was seen getting into. He described it as a Ford Granada, a 1977 model, light blue in color. It featured California registration plates, and Eureka was embossed on the rear license plate. The man behind the wheel was described as a bald man with light gray or sandy blonde hair and gray or green eyes, aged between 60 to 70 years. He was small with a large nose, which may have been broken in the past, and wore prescription-type glasses, along with a blue button-up shirt. Even though composite sketches were made of both man and car, neither has ever been identified. But the fingers were pointed at Robert Durst, the eccentric high-on-fortune real estate heir, who found national attention after the release of HBO's documentary miniseries, The Jinx. The Jinx depicts him as being linked to several disappearances or murders, such as that of his first wife, Kathy Durst. Some of the most straightforward links to Mitchell's disappearance and Robert Durst include facial similarities to a composite sketch of the man who last saw her alive, his rumored presence in Eureka at a soup kitchen where she volunteered, as well as visits to the shoe store that was owned by her aunt with whom she worked. During the early coverage of this case, a former Eureka resident named Corrine Van Swearingen narrated a horrifying tale of a man looking like Durst pulling up to her as she walked along one of the streets in Eureka. She recalled the man behind the wheel of a blue car as short, raspy-voiced, and had funny teeth. Swearingen swore he had the same voice and stature as the Durst guy. Durst was never convicted for this case, owing to a lack of solid evidence. In 2019, Robert Durst's longtime friend, Susan Berman, was murdered by him in her own home to prevent her from sharing the information she had on his involvement in Kathleen McCormick Durst's disappearance and murder that occurred 7 years prior. This got him to a California prison, where he later passed away at the age of 78. The mystery of the Humboldt Five had firmly settled in, weaving a net that warned of fear and suspicion. In the following years, Humboldt County continued to be plagued by so many haunting disappearances. In 2008, Christine Walters disappeared without a trace at the age of 23 years and left her family and friends in a perpetual sorrow. On November 7, 2008, Christine was said to be involved in a cleansing rite that was thought to include a tea made with a hallucinogenic brew, following which individuals reported having static visions and divine revelations. 4 days later, a couple found Christine naked and confused on the steps of their rural Arcata house. Once immediately taken to the hospital, Christine made several calls to her mother and said that people were chasing after her and might find her soon. Christine's mother, concerned about her daughter's mental stability, wanted to go to her daughter, but Christine refused. On November 14, 2008, Christine went to a neighborhood copy shop in her hospital pajamas as her mom faxed her the necessary documents to get her a flight home. The shop owner reported that Christine appeared disheveled and behaved very paranoidly, constantly looking around her back. She requested a direction to the DMV, which was about 1 mile away from the copy center, without mentioning other details, and left. She was never seen again. The latest and probably the scariest installment of the Humboldt Five occurred in 2014 when Sheila Franks and Danielle Bertolini went missing. The two women, aged 37 and 23 years respectively, who shared a similar appearance with blonde hair and blue eyes, seemed to disappear into thin air, leaving behind families who had been struck devastated, as well as a community in panic. These were also the only two women whose body parts, a skull and thigh bone, were found later on in an abused state. Sheila Franks lived with a man named James Jones, one of the prime suspects in the case. It seems that the relationship between Sheila and Jones was characterized by violence. A statement was given by Sheila's sister that she saw evidence of there being problems with their relationship and that Jones was beating her. James Eugene Jones, a local with a history of violent crimes, emerged as another possible suspect in the Humboldt Five crimes. His criminal background and affiliations to the region stoked suspicions that he may be associated with kidnappings. Jones, a former sawmill worker and a suspect in Sheila's case, as well as the Danielle Bertolini homicide, was arrested for drugs and domestic violence. He was the last person who saw them both, which in no way seems like an unfortunate coincidence, especially considering the women shared similar physical features. As for Danielle, the 29th of January 2014 was the last day she would talk to her family. Danielle was always in regular contact with her mother and sister, which is why it was so strange for them when they did not hear from her. Danielle's mother mentioned that she told her that she wanted to join the forces and leave California soon. The day before she went missing, she was sleeping on the couch of a friend of James Jones, as she had crashed at their place. On the night in question, she called this friend to take her home, who later phoned Jones. Jones was observed picking her up, but she never got to town. Jones was also the last to see Sheila Franks before she vanished. Police in Fortuna have said publicly that both cases of the two women are connected and believe Jones is a suspect, but unfortunately, no evidence could be found. James Eugene Jones got away with his crime. Although he was a key suspect, the absence of solid proof hindered attempts to put him on trial. The Humboldt 5 mystery now turned into a ghostly refrain, resonating in the chambers of law enforcers as it carried on without resolution. Apart from all of this, there is one other disturbing fact about the Humboldt 5 case: the Emerald Triangle. This is a triangular boundary area that is well known for the cultivation of marijuana, both within and outside the framework of law. All 5 disappearances that occurred were surrounding this area, and also Bertolini worked in one of the marijuana cultivation sites before her disappearance. This unsettling piece of information only drags the already entangled web of connections. There was even a rumor that 2 of the growers engaged in an intimate relationship with the trimmer, and to prevent her from escaping, they confined her into a large toolbox. However, some of these stories are unsubstantiated. Many working women inside the Emerald Triangle's weed industry didn't report abuse or assault in most cases to authorities, which leaves us with the question of whether this economic triangle had anything to do with the disappearances of these women. The Humboldt 5 mystery remains unsolved, but it is a permanent stain on the fabric of that community, as well as on the people who learned about those appalling events. The gripping story of the disappearances acted as a warning concerning safety and hidden perils beneath apparently calm waters and cozy mountains. Despite the investigation being haunted by major suspects like Wayne Adam Ford, Robert Durst, and James Eugene Jones, none could ever fully be tied to the disappearances.